like that was the point of the joke. Like that was the point of the line. The whole thing was highlighting that. And the other point of it was is in the original special highlighting how gay, lesbian, and bi people mistreat trans people. Because the joke the originally canceled joke was it was an analogy of a car and how the like queer community was like a car with white gays and lesbians driving and not really liking each other, and but also being shitty towards bi people because they haven't quote unquote chosen a side or being greedy quote unquote. But all of them mistreat trans people for being trans. Now, those were the points of the original set of jokes. Was he the person that should have been saying those things?
Probably
Absolutely
not.
fucking not. Like, absolutely fucking not. There should have been a black queer comedian should have been saying those things. He's not the person to say them. But was he wrong? Was the concept wrong? Absolutely not. He had a correct point. He should not have been the person to say that point. But that was a start. Like that was the start. And then but that came on the cancel train. He went from there when the outrage came, and with the second special, and the second special was way worse because he lost the fucking point. It was no longer about calling out these things that actually existed, which is what comedy normally does. You call out things that exist that may be hard to people may have a hard time grappling with or may be upsetting, and you make them funny. That's what comedy does. He stopped doing that and decided to double down on, oh, well, y'all canceled me because you said what I said was offensive, so I am being oppressed. Therefore, I'm going to continue to say the thing that you don't want me to say. It went from I'm making a social point to this is a personal thing to me and I'm going to be an asshole because other people were offended by me. Instead of getting up and going, hey, I see how you might have been offended, but this was the point of it. X was the point because it had a fucking point. He went, fuck the point. I'm going to be a selfish asshole. And I'm going to purposely hurt people because people were mean to me. That's what you don't fucking do. But people latched on to that. It gave him even more attention. And so he's doubled down even more. And he brings more and more people onto it, forgetting the point. And I think a lot of, I guess, comedy nowadays has also forgotten the point. Like, and I ain't talking about, like, I've seen some awesome local comedians because they still do the thing. They have to appeal to the audience one by one. But a lot of major comedians don't do that anymore. It's because it's not to them. It's not even to them. Just as a whole, you can look at all of our media right now. You make more money by being controversial and offensive than by actually doing comedy. You get more clicks, you get more views. You don't actually have to put in the work to be funny. You just have to be offensive. And you don't even have to be really offensive. You just got to say certain things to get people on the internet riled up enough to say something.
Yeah.
And people on the internet are very easy to get riled up.
Yep.
Especially when people don't listen, they don't pay attention to like context or anything. They see something, they see a headline, they get mad about it. That's it. This is the one thing, one of the major issues I have with the quote unquote idea of internet cancel culture is that there is a good deal of it that is aimless rabble rousing. Like you see something, you get mad about it, but you don't really know why you're mad about it. You just get mad about it, and you get riled up, and then it continues to cycle. A lot of the time, it does lose the point of actual accountability, and then just becomes people arguing and think pieces and views and this and that, which is also forgotten the point. So, which brings me to the next, which kind of brings me to the next thing is, you ever heard of the show The Boys?
I have heard of it, but here's the thing. I don't think I would have ever heard of it if I wasn't if I didn't have a soft spot for like listicles about Supernatural. Like Google has decided that because I like Supernatural, I also should like everything else that Jensen Ackles is in.
I mean,
So
you should, because Jensen Ackles is a beautiful man.
it's
Um,
true, inside and out. But
but
also, I don't I don't know a lot about The Boys, except
so
that Jensen Ackles is in it.
um, yeah, Jensen Ackles is in season 3, but The Boys is one of my favorite shows. It is a satirical take on a world of superheroes, and I'm specifically saying satirical. It's satire. It's it has a point. It's a point it's trying to make. And this particular season has brought on some controversy, quote unquote, on the internet. And can you guess why that is?
Uh, something happened.
So the main character called, well, the main antagonist of the show called Homelander, or the Homelander, and that name is very should first of
Uh-huh.
all, the name should have piqued some people's curiosity in the
Uh-huh.
first place. The main antagonist, who is very much shown to be the antagonist of the show, has gotten more like political and social power, actively quoting and using phrases from Donald Trump and stuff. And a lot of watchers on the more conservative side of things have just realized through discourse that Homelander is the bad guy. And that the show is actively using their views and values to show that they are antagonistic towards the rest of society, because it is a satirical show. However, these fans who've been watching it for 3 seasons not realize that, even though it is very obvious, up in arms, because now they say the show has become, quote unquote, too political. Now, I'd like to highlight again that the main antagonist of the show from day one is Homelander, named specifically during the Bush administration, which when the original source material came out, because of Homeland Security, a corrupt American Ubermensch, that's how they refer to him,
Uh-huh.
blonde-haired, blue-eyed, a literal fucking Nazi pinnacle, who's the quote-unquote hero of America, is morally bankrupt, murderous, and corrupt. From day one, this is what this character was. And literally in season 2, he literally falls in love with a Nazi. A Nazi had gotten people on the internet riled up into being neo-Nazis. There was no subtext to any of this. It was just text. But they missed it. Somehow, they missed it. And this is not the only example of this. There have been multiple things that have been political satire, especially where especially conservatives,
Mm-hmm.
do not realize it's satire. They don't realize that these characters that they see, who are very much on the surface, the bad guys, the villains, they don't understand that these people are bad. And when they do finally learn that that's what that media is trying to say, they say it's too political. I'll give another example. Rick and Morty. Oh my God. There are so many people that think Rick is the best thing in the world and he's the smartest and they want to emulate Rick. Rick may be the main character, but Rick is the antagonist of the show.
Yeah.
And it is shown multiple times that Rick is miserable, he's hateful, he literally is suicidal.
Yes. And he's reckless. He's not only suicidal, he's absolutely willing and able to take Morty down with him.
Right, and the show shows that.
Yeah.
They show Rick being a self-destructive person that will take down everyone around him. The show has been growing. It's literally about his family growing and learning these truths about Rick and learning to grow away from him.
Yeah.
To try to get away from that toxicity that is Rick. However, a good portion of the audience do not realize that's the point of the fucking show.
Yes.
Even though it is not subtext, it is very much text.
Yep.
BoJack Horseman. BoJack is a terrible, I'm going to say human being.
Person.
BoJack is a person.
Terrible person.
And that's
BoJack is a terrible human being because he's not a human being.
Right. From day one, that's the whole point of the show. He's terrible. Mm-hmm. He causes pain to the people around him. He's self-destructive. And the show is about him, at least sometimes, trying to be different, but failing over and over and over again. Which is, I mean, that's very human.
Yes.
And that's actually what I appreciate about the show, is that he does constantly fail, as humans often do. It's not feel good. It's not, oh, he gets better, or he eventually sees the error of his ways. No, every time he tries to get better, he falls right back into the same self-destructive behavior. And the show is literally about the people around him moving on from him.
Yeah.
Them learning to be better and doing better in spite of the damage he's caused. But again, how many people idolize BoJack? And I think we've gotten to, especially more conservative people. Now, it's not just them, but it's mostly them. And I think we've gotten to a point in popular culture where life has become so ridiculous that satire, and political or otherwise, is so easily misconstrued because it just looks like the regular media we consume.
Yeah.
And that brings up my next point. And that brings up Fox News Entertainment, sometimes they say. Now, Fox News is considered the most trusted source of news in the country, which is unfucking fortunate.
Yes.
I don't think people realize how horrifying that is. Now, Tucker Carlson, probably the most popular person on Fox News. Yes. Tucker Carlson News.
Well, I don't think personally. I mean, I already know what you're going to talk about, but I don't personally think anything on Fox News is news because it's all made up.
He has a show on a news channel. It says news right there in the title, and he talks about things that happen.
It must be news,
that are
right?
in the news. It must be news. Not according to fucking Fox News. It's not.